Good morning, and welcome to Your Business in Digital. We are super excited to be here today. How are you guys doing this morning?
Happy hump day. It's
Oh.
Wednesday. Happy to be here.
All right, so today we
Yay.
are talking campaigns. I am super excited about the conversation today. It's going to be awesome. So let's kick to the intro. Some technical difficulties there. Truth be told, Nia, who is not backstage with us this morning, so we are running this on our own. So no judgment. Let this be a judgment-free zone. We are still here showing up to do this show, Your Business in Digital. All right, so I know I have to get some things out of the way. I know how to do this. I used to do this before. So let's get some housekeeping out of the way. So here is what we want you to do. We want you to, you know what? We want you to tell people about this show. We want you to connect with us. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube, we're live on LinkedIn. We're going to be live on Instagram as soon as Nia gets back. But we are, if you can't catch us live, that's fine. You can catch us on anywhere podcasts are available. We're on Amazon, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're in all those spaces. But what we want you to do is we really want you to tell a business executive about this show, tell a small business owner about this show. We really help you connect those dots of how to get from digital to money in the bank. We have a CFO in the building, we have a sales and pricing strategist in the building, we have operations in the building, and we have marketing in the building. We are a true business coming together to talk about digital and how you go back to have that conversation of digital helped me increase my revenue by 10%. It helped me increase my revenue by 20%. Digital brought me in marketing assisted leads that the sales team can now close. That's what we're doing here with this show, connecting those dots back to money in the bank. Yeah. All right. So can I get a round of applause? Nia's not here. We got no sound effects. All right. I'm like, I have to give myself my own round of applause. All right. So, just a quick recap from the last show. We got the recap now. So, a recap from the last show, we talked about assessments, right? And assessments are super, super important. When you are running your business, when you are doing these digital marketing strategies, you want to go back to look at everything that worked and didn't work. You want to analyze things before you go forward. You don't want to spend more money not understanding where things are, right? So we talked about the key components to an assessment. We talked about how often businesses should be conducting an assessment. You should be doing it depending on your business side, maybe yearly, maybe, twice a year, maybe you're doing it every month, but maybe you're also looking at a dashboard on a monthly or a weekly basis that gives you some direction. Are you meeting those business goals? And you want to look at those metrics. What are those metrics that say to you, hey, digital has helped me to move money from digital over to money in the bank? You want to understand what those key metrics are and how does the assessment translate into actionable insights, right? You want to look at those data points and you want them to say, hey, this tells me that I should take this action. People are clicking through, but they're not spending a lot of time on my landing page, my sales page. Maybe I need to look at, that call to action. I need to look at, revisiting the page, seeing what are they seeing when they get there. Ask a few people to tell you when they get there, what do they see? So start looking to see what are the actionable insights that come from those assessments. So that's a recap of the last show. All right, cool. I'm like, is Nia back? Help us. All right, I think she's back. So anyway, so I think we're on Instagram now too. Hey, Instagram, we finally made it over to you. Guys, do you see that I am rocking my Bob Marley t-shirt? I didn't get to watch the show yet, but I'm here and I'm doing it. So, all right. So we are moving on to our hot topics. Are we ready for the hot topics this morning? Let's go, let's go, let's go. So our hot topics, who is doing hot topics? Let's get a little bit of a Can we get some noise?
I am. I'm doing okay.
No,
It's kind
Michelle,
of hard to
Michelle. All right, I think I'll be your guide in this process. So let's get the hot topics on the screen. I think I am. Let's
I
go. All
know.
right.
So this morning we are talking about capitalizing in a strategic way on an opportunity when it presents itself. So we have, let's talk about Taylor Swift, and that's in the center of our screen at this moment. Her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, is an American football player for the Kansas City Chiefs. And recently, we were introduced, the world was, to the young lady that's on the left side, and that would be Kristen Usick. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. Well, this young lady took advantage of an enormous opportunity that was presented to her very early in her career. She has been, she's married. Let's start here and how she ended up in this realm. She is the wife of Kyle Usick, who is an American football player for the San Francisco 49ers team out here in California. Well, she has a hobby that she loves to sew. She's a self-taught seamstress, and she sews different outfits so that she can look up to date, young and youthful while she is attending her husband's football games. So over the course of years, she has developed different models of clothing in different ways and has been struggling to get that out there and to get a brand deal. Well, she ended up with this just enormous opportunity on January 13th when the Kansas City Chiefs were in a playoff game. She took jerseys that were made of Travis Kelce's jersey and Patrick Mahomes, who is the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and made puffer jackets out of them and sent them to Taylor Swift, who's dating Travis, who's on the Kansas City Chiefs, and then also sent it to Brittany Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' wife. They wore those jackets for that game. Now, we all know the power of Taylor Swift. Everyone is following the woman everywhere. Well, sure enough, the NFL, Sunday Night Football, many outlets were showing Taylor Swift in what she was wearing. And Kristen ended up with all of this publicity because Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes wore those jackets. Now, also, there were a couple of other famous women who were dating or married to football players that wore different outfits. Simone Biles is one of them. Her husband plays for the Green Bay Packers, and she wore a jacket as well that was made from jerseys of her husband. Well, all of this publicity ended up just moving forward at a rocket's pace Kristen's efforts to gain an NFL apparel licensing deal. As I said, January 13th was the date that they wore them. By the end of January, something that she had been seeking for years finally came to fruition. And this was due to the power of her taking advantage strategically of an opportunity and utilizing her network to get something moved forward. Now, what does this mean for us as small business owners? This is a huge thing that we can take advantage of. The first thing that she did was she understood that she had something unique. She had her lanyard in place. She decided to showcase her unique differentiators for what she does. She takes these jerseys and she makes different types of female apparel out of them. And that's setting her apart from everyone else. She's found her niche in a place where there's very little or minimal female visibility in a way that's going to attract a crowd to the place. She managed to get that done. The other thing that I think is gravely important that we all need to take advantage of and every day do this, always be prepared to ask for the sale. This means that she wasn't afraid to reach out to Brittany Mahomes to say, hi, could you possibly get my jacket in front of to Taylor Swift? I'd like to send it to her. She doesn't need to do anything with it, but just would love to gift it to her. Brittany came back to her. They corresponded. Taylor Swift and Brittany agreed to wear that. You can't get something if you're not willing to ask, People can only say no, but they can't say no or yes if you don't ask. The third thing is you have to be persistent. As I mentioned, Kristen had been struggling for years, trying over and over again to get herself a brand deal with someone, and she turned down. So be persistent. Don't be afraid of the struggle. Setbacks will happen. You can move forward. Leverage your relationship. I spoke about how she did that throughout the NFL. Everyone remains connected, and she stayed connected with a numerous people so that she could understand what the value of those opportunities were to take advantage of them when they were available. She did number 4 excellently. She was prepared, and she made the most of the moment when it came her way. So if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready, right? Now, and the final thing, and I can't remember what that was. So Tamara, if you go back, or Nia, go back one. Oh, again, always ask for the sale. So those are our 5 lessons for the business. And I think any of you, this is a fine example for any small business owner. Your opportunity may present itself in a slightly different way, but there are numerous ways for you to escalate your business. But you got to be prepared and be strategic about that moment when it presents itself to you. That's our hot topic.
That's such a great angle, especially for this, right? That's really good. You know what I mean? I love that. The visibility by the end of that happened quickly. Well, she'd been working towards it, but positioning, timing. Oh, that was a good one.
And just think about this, and it actually meets in what we're going to cover shortly, our topic, and I thought that was a great one to put forward. But look at how there were a couple of articles where she mentioned she'd been speaking to the NFL for some time. Slow moving, it was like really crawling, but there had been some conversation. It like pedal to the metal once the jersey got out there in the stratosphere, and people started saying, "Who is this woman? Who is she? Where did Taylor get this jacket from?" So it was a couple of things that kind of met the moment, but she was ready for it. She was ready for it. And we talk about this all the time. I think it was 2 seasons ago when we were talking about the House of Chicken, where and Tabitha Brown, and how she asked, "Are you ready if this goes live, when this happens, because business is going to come your way?" How many cautionary tales have we heard that the visibility came from Diners, Drive and Dive In, or all of these other places, and people weren't ready for the business that came through, or the opportunity when it presented itself? So think about these things where all of us have these moments. I had this moment with Your Business in Digital when it was top 7 at 7 when we were on Clubhouse. And it was being ready for the moment to capitalize and to understand the strategic partnerships when they're made available to us.
Oh,
More.
here.
And Nia rose to the challenge to find a way to put Taylor Swift in. See?
Preach, Michelle, preach. I love this hot topic, and it speaks to, actually I like it because it's something that I'm doing right now. Making yourself ready for these next opportunities and being very strategic with the relationships that you're developing, with the connections that you're making. I'm making some strides and making some very strategic decisions as to who you speak to, when you speak to them, and what do you give them when you're speaking. Because what I noticed is she gave something very tangible. It was a jacket that the call to action was very easy. Just put it on. Take a picture, and that's all was needed. She didn't ask for you to take it to anybody. Just, if I could just get it to this person and they put it on, I know something will happen. So I like that. I like that.
It adds to, what I like about it as well too, and it's something we've done here at Monovan. It's let me show you what I can do. Let me prove it out. Let me prove it out. You know what I mean? Sometimes I over prove it out, but it's like you prove it out. You know, we did that with the top 7 digital marketing trends at 7. It's like, here's how we help businesses increase their revenue by 20%, by 40%. That's why we can have this show. That's why we can have this conversation. That's why we're thought leaders in this space, right? So she proved it out because she knew it was good, and she was willing to say, hey, yeah, I'm going to show you what this looks like so the rest of the world can see it. So yeah, this was a good hot topic. Mike, I'm sorry. Mike's like, I'm like, we're just hogging the mic.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I mean, I think what I love about the topic is, you know, Super Bowl at the end of the day becomes one of the biggest marketing events of the year, right? Forget sporting events. It's one of the biggest marketing events. So I think everything you all have said is absolutely correct. You know, it does fit into what we are going to talk about this morning. As far as, you know, as we're seeing it, so we see when the success happens, but what was that campaign? So that's what we're talking about. What was that campaign that got her there? And it obviously did get her there at the end of it all. And yes, we are just such creatures now that somebody wears it, the right person wears it, then you're all set to go. And it's the same in business, right? If somebody says, if your business is known for working with a certain other big business, for say, you get the same type of visibility, right? So that's how it works in the B2B world as well. So if I can say that we are now, as we can say, we are now HubSpot solution partners, right? That gives us amount of visibility. So that partnership, the visibility, everything, great hot topic for sure. I was letting you all have your say. I know you all were like going crazy.
It's Michael approved. Look, my day is made. It's Michael approved.
It is.
All right. So shout out to everyone that is on with us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, like we're in all these spaces, on Facebook, on YouTube. We are everywhere. We're live. All right. I'm having a good day. Nia's finally back, so we're excited to move on to our next topic, our Go Beyond the Like segment, which is, you know, where we really. All right. I asked for that, you know, so every time now I'm like surprised. I don't even know why. So our Go Beyond the Like segment is where we take you beyond the likes and follows and really get to that place of what is the strategy? What are the things? What are the actionable insights? What are the things that you can be doing or that you're doing? And how do you analyze if it's working? So this is where we get to the strategic elements of the digital marketing. So let's jump in. Today we are talking about from the concept to conversion, building a successful campaign strategy. So I love a good campaign, I tell you. So I actually have a surprise for you guys, but I'll get around to it. I'll surprise you guys, I think next week possibly, because I have a campaign. It's gonna be great. I promise you. Anyway, so campaigns are really the heart of how we, you know, get that visibility, get that brand awareness, get sales. And as businesses, you know, how are we thinking about a campaign? Are we even thinking about, hey, the small business and medium business, are you thinking, do I need to run a campaign for this year? What does my evergreen campaign look like? Meaning, what is that consistent campaign that I'm running that drives me business, that drives me leads, that gets me to, you know, those people that can get to know, like, trust you, right? And that's what we're talking about today. How do you structure and what are the things that you need for those campaigns? So, all right, let's jump into point number 1. So I cannot say this enough. Digital marketing is a part of your business process, right? It's not this cool thing that, you know, that you're doing now, that the kids are doing now. It's just not that. It's a part of the business process. So you must have SMART goals. You must have business goals. You must know, hey, I'm trying to grow this business in this way. and I'm going to do marketing, and that's going to impact that in this way. I'm trying to grow my business by 10%, by 20%. I'm going to do digital marketing to build a database of leads. Maybe I want to collect 200-300 email addresses so I can nurture those people through email marketing and then sell to those people over time, depending on my sales cycle, right? So that's how it comes back to the SMART goals. So, I'm just jumping, guys, because I know getting to the heart of the goals is important. And you both are like, yeah.
I think it's your starting point. You have to understand where you're going to go and what your end goal is going to be. So you're at the start, but you're identifying what you're looking for at the end, and everything else that we'll do is in the middle. But it's the groundwork, the starting place for everything that you're going to do in your business. And it will, if you don't do it, then you'll never really get to where you think you're going, because you really don't know where you're going. Your GPS has not been set.
Absolutely. I mean, how would you know that you've had a success or not? If you have not defined what it looks like for you, then you will just keep doing and doing and not realizing whether you've passed the goal or not. So I think it's important that definitely this has to be your first step, because again, without this knowing where you're going, you wouldn't know when to stop or when to adjust, when to optimize, and you'll bad spend money, because you will just keep doing things that you can't seem to align with something specific.
And to just add the cherry on the top, it's what we always say, every marketing action needs to be intentional. So you are not jumping out there and just posting. You're not saying, okay, I'm going to boost some posts, I'm going to run some ads. It has to be intentional with some sort of goal in mind, and this is where it starts.
Yes. Everything. Time check. So Nia's back to the time check. She's like, you were only on point number one. All right. So point number two. Target audience. I mean, we talk about the target audience all the time. I think everyone talks about their target audience, and getting to the heart of understanding who those people are and then connecting with them in the online space are two very different things. And it's really important that you understand their habits, their patterns, understand what they're searching for. I've been doing a lot of SEO in the last few months, and search is the foundation of what people do. These journeys that they take, right? They take these very specific journeys. So knowing and understanding, putting your customer hat on and getting into that customer journey really helps you to hone in and understand what your target audience does, where they spend time. So, I mean, I can't say enough about just knowing the people and going back to the database of people that you already have. If you have a business, to understand what are their similarities? What do they like? What actions did they take that made sense? And your analytics should be able to guide you through that process.
Let me tell you, this is with my clients with Lanyap that are focused, that have come in and say need help on sales conversion or my sales process. We start right here with identifying the target audience, and we have a 60 questionnaire. There's 60 questions that we go through in this realm, and we run the gamut. It is not just what are the demographics of age and location. We get into, and we invite all of you to get into this space to understand what are their buying behaviors. Where do they consume anything, any version of media? Is it by newspaper? Is it by TV? Is it by email, blog, or a news article that goes there? Which version of social media are they on? What time of day do they like to interact in any of these spaces? All of these things are really important, up to and including where do they work? What's important for them? Where do they stand on their values? Think of things that you hear now about if the company's sustainable. Do they use vegan products? All of those are derived out of understanding what your target audience enjoys and what moves them. And that allows us, as we have a digital campaign out there, to provide messaging that resonates with them in a language they understand and deliver that at the time of day when they're consuming it, so that media isn't wasted. So all of these things are imperative to understand, along with setting the goal so that you're delivering the right information at the right time. So it's, when I say we start with setting your goal, understanding exactly who your ideal client is the second place. Don't pass go without figuring that piece out.
Well, I'm just going to lead into something you mentioned already, and I'm going to let Andrea and Mike jump into this one because you kind of already jumped into it, right? The content strategy. Okay. So the one thing I'll say is don't ever just create content to create content. Know the content that people are searching for. Understand it. Okay. So go, guys.
Sorry,
I
couldn't
thought Mike
unmute
was
there
going
for a
to.
second. Yeah, was just having some trouble to unmute. So that content strategy, what types of content will resonate with your audience? And just to go back to that previous point of who's your ideal customer, think of it from a business perspective as well. What are the business demographics that you're looking for? So we talk about it a lot because eventually you're going to be speaking to a person, to a human being. But you may start that journey saying, well, this is the type of businesses I want to get in front of. So let's talk content now. So know your audience. What are those businesses looking for? What are their pain points, right? So we as marketers, of course, we are looking at businesses that their pain point is developing content per se. You want to mix up your content. You want to make sure that you're doing different types of content because, of course, we all consume information in different ways. And sometimes I'm looking for different levels of things as a business. Am I looking for a white paper? Am I looking for a blog? Am I looking for short bits of information that I can actually implement immediately? Kind of information we want to give on this show. Focus on quality and consistency. Now, this is the rub for everyone, the consistency. Now, quality is, again, that one of those words that, what does quality mean? Well, you have to determine what it means for your audience. What's quality in your audience's mind, right? And of course, experiment and analyze. Some things that you may not have thought have worked can work really well. And last but not least, of course, automate when possible. That's the biggest way to get around some of these content development humps, is to make sure that you're automating the process. And to automate that process, of course, it means that you have a clearly defined, starting from that persona that you developed in the last point, to say, well, listen, this is how I'm going to develop content. So when we do this show, we understand all the bits of content that are going to come from this show and be delivered to you, the audience. So that's what we're talking about when we say content strategy. What types of content will resonate with your audience and achieve your goals?
Yes. You have to know what the people want to hear so that you'll know what to create, right? So you understanding what is it that they're going through so that the words that you say will connect with them. And that's a lesson that I have been learning as well. And I think it's something that people in my space will appreciate. When you're offering a technical service, does your audience understand the technical jargon? Right? To know that the thing that you have is going to sell the problem that they have, right? I can't go and start talking accounting terms because everybody will look at me like, but that's not really what I want. And they come and they say, I just want somebody to do my taxes. Or I just need somebody to put the thing on the in the accounting thing in the book. Okay. But that's not an accounting language, right? So you really have to know your audience to be able to understand their preferences to then bring this whole content strategy to life, because you end up putting out content that might be great in terms of quality, excellent, great in terms of you're mixing it up and you're distributing it, it's all out there, but then it doesn't really match the audience. I think that is the most critical part.
So you
Good,
said something.
Tamara.
I have to jump in. You said something that made me think, what is your road march of content? Right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
Carnival is still on the brain. But as I was like, you were talking, and I was just like, what's your road march? What is your, because, you know, the road march statistics came out. So for those of you who did Carnival, you get
Right.
it. For those of you that
If
don't,
if you know, you know.
for those of you that don't, so during Carnival in Trinidad, there's one song that's played when people cross the stage, right? So there's one song that is like played over and over. Each band plays it, and then they play a bunch of different songs, but then they select one. So the one that won this year, I think he was played like 300 and some odd times across
300, over 300 times, yeah.
times. And I think it was like he was like 3 times the amount of the person right below him, and then the person in third place, he was like, you know, 5 times. The numbers were something like that, not exact, you know. Do not go quote me on this. But anyway,
It was a safe margin.
right. So, but there's this, so you have to, so the song resonated with the people, right? It was something, it was about, you know, it was about the music, the carnival, the DNA, the soul, you know, it had a formula to it. And a lot of other road march songs have had those formulas to it as well, right? So you hear the song and you think of, you know, songs of old, and it's a, you know, great song. But it comes back to people, it resonated with the people. So it really got to that. What is your, I think we just developed something, right? What is your road march of
What
content?
is your road march?
Not take
I love it. I love it. And you know, you're making me think about it. And I think, yes, I could think about what my road march of content is. You know, one topic I always speak about is cash flow. I find myself always talking about that because I believe that is the heart of running your business. Because if you don't have cash, you're at a standstill. You literally can't do anything. So so yeah, my road march for content is cash flow. Look at that. Inspired today. Mind blown.
It's the new year. All right. Nia's gonna be like, time check, time check. I know we OD'd on that one. Okay,
Yes.
cool. So, you know, Michelle, I'm gonna kick this one to you because I think this is an important one too. You know, call to action. You know, what specific call to action do you want your audience to take? And I think sometimes we get caught up in a lot of call to actions. When you're running a campaign, determine what are those things that you want them to do, right? What are the things that you want them to do, and where are they in the funnel? So, Michelle, I'm going to kick that over to you to kind of talk about that a little bit.
It is. Again, this is something that I speak to my lanyard clients about when we're talking about sales journey and what we're looking to do. And we always, again, start with, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? And I say this because as we're asking for the sale, or we're asking for that next action, because the call to action is a verb. It's something that's requiring movement. And it is aligned with what your goals were. Is that to get more subscribers to your channel? Is it to learn more about your business? Is it to buy something from you? We're going to literally ask someone to do that. So subscribe today, learn more, buy now, shop now. Something we're asking directly for it in a strong way, not passively by saying click here, but buy now, subscribe today, with a sense of urgency that's allowing things to be time bound. You want that FOMO to happen, that fear of missing out, by placing some sense of urgency around a discount, that something has a limited supply. We want to make sure that it's short and brief. We want it to be clear and concise in that language. And don't forget that we buy with our eyes. So whatever that we're putting out there with that call to action should be visually appealing, because we want the client to lean in. We want them to pay attention. We want it to stand out. So ensure that it is contrasting in color, or it's eye-catching. And most importantly, back to the target audience and building the persona, we want to make sure that that call to action is personalized, something that's going to resonate with them, with that audience that you have identified earlier, so that we understand that that message is going to meet the moment at that stage of the buying journey that they're in. So if they're at the top of the funnel, learn more, click here, subscribe today. If they're closer to the bottom and we want them to buy because we've gotten to the place of the know, like, trust, they can click and buy now at that stage. So it's understanding the goal and who your people are and then delivering at the moment that we are in at that time.
Don't go call to action crazy, right? Plan those call to actions when you're planning your campaign. You're right. What do you want people to do? And do not try to sell them if you haven't introduced yourself to them either, right? Know where they are in their funnel too. The call to actions are, and that comes back to the content. Like, it's all this stuff is just like one big like continuum.
Correct. And you said something, Tamara, I'd just like to add in there that at the start of your campaign, you need to know your call to actions. So to tie in what Michelle is saying and what you said, Tamara, you can have several call to actions because they are different points in the funnel. So at the top of the funnel, you may be looking, just as you said, at call to actions that just are like download now, learn more here. But then what are your further call to actions? So now that the person has taken steps, what are the later call to actions? Is it book a consultation? Is it talk to a sales representative? So you're going to have what are the call to actions going through your campaign toward the end of the campaign, and then what are you actually tracking as that conversion?
That's a good one. All right. So we've talked about this a little bit more. So I know we can run through this one really quickly. It's where to reach your target audience. So that comes back to really understanding the target, right? If you understand the target audience, you'll kind of understand where they're hanging out. And that's where you should be hanging out. Is your target audience on LinkedIn? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on TikTok? Are they somewhere else? Are they hanging out on your website? Are they on YouTube? Maybe they're not in social media. Maybe they are. Just understanding where you are meeting these people, because even if you're meeting them at a conference, right? You're meeting them in person, you can still have a digital component that takes them down a funnel to get some of the information out. You can still run your campaign that way. You just have to understand where are they coming into your front door, where are you saying hello to them, and then how do you move them through your process after that so that they stay in your space connecting with you, right? Listening and consuming your content. So you want to get them to that place. And maybe the end result is that you get them in your email, because in email, that's where you get them to consume that content, to move them through your blog, to move them back to your video. So really consider those things. So where are they hanging out? What are they doing? Find them in their place. It's not that you can build it and they will come. It's really about finding them where they are, right? All right, so this one, we're moving on to number 6, because I know this one is going to, everybody gonna say something about this one. Because this is everybody's favorite. So digital gets a bad rap, right? It's always gotten a bad rap, and that's why we own the trademark Go Beyond the Likes, because digital has gotten this rap about likes and follows, and we gotta really push beyond the likes. So we want to consider what's the measurement in digital? What is the measurement that gets you to money in the bank? That is the conversation that we want to have. And we want to talk to the CFO to say, okay, we want to spend $100,000 on this ad campaign because we believe that we can see a 3-to-1 ROI. How do we understand this? Because we have been testing this out with smaller budgets. We've seen this. Here's where the audience comes in. Here's how they flow. And we've seen a conversion rate of X%. Okay, so that is the conversation that you want to have with digital. So the performance metrics matter, and you need to really understand what are those metrics that connect me closer to money in the bank. So past likes, past impressions, really getting to the place of click-through rate, engagement, time on site. You have to start connecting those metrics to meaning different things, meaning that they're consuming, they like it. What is it telling me, and what are the actionable insights that come from those performance metrics? So a little bit of a soapbox there, but I pass it over to everyone now.
I'll go from a sales perspective as you're doing things. There are a couple of things, not only about how are you going to track it, but what are you putting your name against? Like, what is the point of the goal that you're trying to reach, and what is the place that you're going to then either keep going with that or pivot away from it. from a selling perspective, I look at not just conversions, but I invite our audience to also consider, did your subscription numbers go up? We subscribe today. What's the goal that we're trying to get to get to that place? If you've asked them to buy now and they're going to a specific place on the site, are you getting not just conversions, but what do your regrets look like? How many times did somebody go there, but they didn't buy? Or they placed it in the cart and didn't move? What's the trigger that's going to force you to say, it's time for us to change what we're doing, or look and modify something, or keep on the road because we're on the right track? So I think of things of specific areas and putting a number against something, or a barrier on either side that we need to look at and to consider.
So of course, measurements and finance, they go together. Like you have to come with a number. You have to come with a real measurement of what is happening, or what you would like to happen, or what didn't happen, in order for us to understand if the money is making sense or not. Because without that, it just becomes a feeling, and it just becomes a vanity of, well, we'll do this because, well, we're supposed to do it. You're supposed to have, you're supposed to post on your Facebook page. Okay, but what is the intent behind the post that is going to get us the sale? What is the metric that you'd like to get out of posting on the page? Are you posting on the page so that you can get more visibility, or are you posting on the website so that you could increase traffic? There has to be some sort of metric. And what I also want to say as well is, even though I always talk finance, even if the metric is not an immediate sale, it still matters, because it's taking you along the journey. If you could demonstrate that maybe the metric is not quite there yet with a sale, but the metric is, well, we're seeing website traffic going up, then that's still positive, because that means you're gaining traction to the eventual metric that will become sales. So don't think that just you have to always go straight to the metric that says, oh, this is where you increase sales by 10%. Before you get to the sales increasing by 10%, there are other metrics that will matter to the CFO that would say, hey, this money is making sense, right? Because it's taking us along the journey, and we're taking the metrics in order. So it may simply be that you're just trying to gain awareness. What does that metric look like? What does that metric look like? And if that metric is moving in the right direction, you will get more money to spend on your marketing budgets if you can demonstrate that. So I'm off my soapbox now.
Love it.
I'm going to chime in there because, yes, I think this absolutely ties back to our first point of setting those SMART goals, right? So that's what's going to determine here, what are the relevant metrics. Andrea, great point in that some metrics are ancillary metrics that matter, but may not be your ideal metric that you're looking at per se, but tells you something that means you can shift, you can change, you can adapt. So there are some metrics that you just want to be looking at to say, like say website traffic, you were looking at a certain amount of website conversion, that's really the metric you want. What's the conversion? But you overall want to see, well, what's the whole website traffic? That's one of those, right at the top of the gate. So choosing those right metrics, absolutely necessary. That ties back into when you set your goals, you should understand then what should I be tracking? There may be some internal metrics as well. So if you're doing this campaign for yourself, or if you're running it through an agency, what are some of those metrics that go toward the delivery of the campaign? Are the posts going out on time? Is the blog being written on time, et cetera, et cetera? So you have some internal operational stuff as well that you want to make sure that that's happening, because that informs your campaign, right? So I'll get off my soapbox with that, because I know we're great for time.
I knew we could spend most of the time here.
No, right. And I'm going to go back and join and get back on the soapbox to talk about, three things that we talk about in this room. And then I say to my clients, we need to identify three things. What does success look like? We've got to put something against that. And then two others, stop and go. What are the signals? Identify and put a stake in the ground on, this is a stop point, and we need to analyze redo, move in a different place, or go, yes, we've hit that place, we found that marker, the gas station on the right side at the corner of whatever street. That's the place that we need to go through that light, and we're in a good place. So what are the markers that we need to follow to stop or go? And we know that because we've identified what success looks like, and that's because we've identified what the goal is. So think of those three things.
We're never leaving this point. Because the numbers matter so much and the data tell the story. And so many times campaigns are cut short because they didn't run it long enough. They didn't understand the metrics. They got some fluff metrics. And that's why you get those, people saying, hey, digital really doesn't work. I can't see it. I don't have time for it. I'm going to do what I'm accustomed to doing, right? But it's important that you understand the numbers that matter. That's a language that you have to speak. In the rest of your business, you understand the metrics that matter, right? How many meetings turn into a sale? So what does that look like? So in digital, you need to understand those touch points and what does that feel like? So it's not, you don't need to become a digital strategist, but you really need to look to see how is this connecting to the end goal. So, all right, that's it. Round of applause for a really good point. All right, so last but not least, this thing here, optimization. It's my favorite thing on the planet because you just got to keep optimizing. Like when you understand that you are seeing the steps towards the goal, Andrea, that you talked about. So you start seeing those, those movements towards the goal. You start optimizing and you start testing things and you start pushing forward and you start connecting more of the dots. And then you start, moving that optimization to a place of where it is actually at the optimal place where it's driving you $50,000 on a monthly basis because you've gotten that campaign to that point, and that campaign now is on almost not autopilot, but autopilot, because you'll still go back to see where could we make some changes. A shift in conversion rates from 2% to 4% is sometimes so much more money depending on how many people you're reaching. So there's so many nuances there. So optimization gets you to that place where you kind of get to your ideal formula for driving conversions, and it takes a little bit of time. And so that's once you get your digital marketing campaign running the right way, that's a campaign that you can almost run forever, right? It becomes your evergreen campaign and you're like, oh, we do this and we add other things on top of that. And then so when this thing that you've optimized is working really well, you can then take and start testing something else, right? To move on to the thing. And you're like, this is a part of my formula. This is what makes my business special. This is my digital marketing strategy that I've evolved to the point where I know it drives me $50K in revenue on a monthly basis, $100K, $1 million, whatever it is, whatever those goals are, that's what it is.
Well, I think she might be frozen. So we'll just keep talking for a little while till she gets back. So yes, we're talking optimizing. I mean, one of the questions I would definitely put back to Tamara is, when do we make the change? We say we're data driven, but sometimes we're anxious to see that result, right? So what we expect, let's talk about it. We expect that you start your campaign and things just start happening immediately, right? But that doesn't always happen. So that's why optimization, that's where you're looking at, listen, let's look at now that this is running, are people clicking? Are people even seeing it? Let's start there. Is my audience seeing what I want them to see? Then we go to, are they taking the action? So again, the customer journey and the funnel, paired side by side. Are they taking the action? So you're looking at that data and you're saying, okay, is it working to draw them in? They're getting eyes on it, but nothing's happening. That may mean you're getting in front of the wrong audience. So you may want to tweak, say, what are you optimizing for? Are the keywords correct? Maybe your keyword is skewed just a little bit, because sometimes a small change means a big impact on the other side. Look at what's underperforming. So as we said, we want a multi-channel approach, but at the same time, you want to get away from doing work that's just not necessary. So if you see that a platform is underperforming or it's just not gathering that traction, maybe it's worth your while to say, hey, listen, let's switch tracks, get off of this platform, or put it in some sort of steady state and focus more somewhere else. So that may be putting one platform above the other. Refining your message. This is something you will always have to do because we all hear things differently. So that I may craft what I think is the perfect message. But of course, as we know, when we put it out there, there are going to be that many different interpretations of that message. So you want to make sure that that's something that you're always optimizing as well with your content. Is my message really coming through? And is it resonating with my target audience? Test your new approaches. A/B testing. That's something we can't say enough about. It's about looking at just a small sample of your target audience, taking two different approaches, seeing which one works better, and then going with that one to your wider audience. So that's something very powerful, a very powerful tool if you're not sure which track to take or what you think might work better than another option. And of course, using your automation tools, leverage your analytics platforms. A lot of the analytics that we talk about are free. Google Analytics, you just have to plug it in. You just have to make sure it's connected. But make sure that you're using some of this automation to help streamline that performance. So this is just some of the things that we're talking optimization of your campaign and why it's crucial for maximizing that impact. It's ongoing and it'll probably happen for the entire duration of your campaign. So I'll hold there and you'll put in your 2 cents.
I really like this one because when we're finally at this stage, we are narrowing down the tasks at hand that we're going to do, and we're going to sit in this space for a while and start over again. And it's like you said, it's the continuum piece. We're going to start at place and then revisit and revisit and revisit, pending what we need to do to move that business forward, up to and including when let's pull the thread on what you spoke about addressing underperformers. I use a real life thing that I'm dealing with on this side as a client, a customer of a local coffee shop that I go to, and they have the things that keep you engaged, up to including getting points. And how do you want to get the points? Do you want them emailed to you? Do you want it by text? Do you want to put in whatever information in? And they have my phone number, so I get text messages, and I received one that said, "But we missed you. We missed you." So they're looking at their analytics, realizing I'm not coming in at the cadence that I used to, and they're reaching out to re-engage with me. They've studied their analytics, realized the best mode of contacting me is through text, not email. They have both, but I use my phone number to get my points, and they reached out to me that way to engage and set a reminder in my brain of don't forget about me. Those are our key things that we refine and move forward with. Or as you're looking at your analytics, what worked? Was that call to action really good? Or do I need to refine and change that call to action because I may have said, click here, very passive, versus subscribe now. Let me move forward and get into space. So I think it's worthy of us to remember that it's not a one and done. It's let's change it a little bit. Let's refine a little bit. And the same thing that we do in our practical lives, we're applying to the business world as well.
I see Tamara's back. But just to expound on what you said, Michelle, I feel like this stage, when we get to optimizing, I feel like this is the most productive stage. This is the stage where a lot is happening. I feel like there's a lot of doing. There's a lot of doing and tweaking, and there's no longer setup anymore, but it feels very productive that you're going to be actually doing the thing and measuring the thing and then tweaking the thing. So when you get to this stage, it's very productive. It's very exciting. And I think this is where a lot of the questions get answered. And according to Michael, people are very anxious to want to change things. But this is the part that really hits, pedal to the metal, as they say, and you'll be, guns are blazing. And this is a very important part of the strategy, the optimizing, because this is where you're actually going to see results.
Welcome back, Miss Lamont Louis. Oh, did she freeze
Hear you?
again?
Nope, we're not hearing you yet.
No, not yet.
So hopefully we'll get her back on before we close off. But yeah, so that's that point analyzing. I know tomorrow I'll have some additional things to put in if she can get back on. But I just want to run through like what we talked about this morning. So we're talking about campaigns, and we're talking about how to get the most of your campaigns. And of course, there are a lot of different types of campaigns. Maybe we do another show there where we go into what are the type of campaigns that you're looking at. And we've talked about some points here in terms of setting your SMART goals, making sure that what you're setting up for that campaign makes sense. Knowing who your target audience is, make sure who is your target audience and who are you trying to reach with your message? What's that message? So we talked about looking at those demographics, not just the personal demographics, but also the business demographics. Are you looking for businesses of a certain size? Are you looking for businesses that do a certain type of business or in a specific industry? Then we talked about what's your content strategy? What's that content? Now that I've defined who I'm talking to, what am I going to put in front of them consistently to get them into my world? And that call to action. So, I have to go to Michelle, right? Always be selling, always be closing, ABC, always be closing. So what's that call to action? Because that's your close. Everything else is that conversation. That's you in the store with the salesperson, or maybe you just window shopping. And that conversion, that call to action is when you're saying, hey, listen, I want you to commit and take a step. So always be closing. Then we went on to how will you reach your target audience? And this is where we talk about the multi-channel strategies. So we're talking social media, search, paid advertising, email marketing, etc. How are you reaching them? And this may differ at different points in the sales funnel, right? Then we talked about performance measurement, because of course, what's the point if we're not measuring how it's doing? You've got to be measuring performance, but you've got to make sure you're measuring the right things. As we said, there are some main indicators that, of course, you're going to establish. What are your KPIs? But as Andrea so rightfully put forward, there are some metrics that you want to keep an eye on, but may not be a direct metric, right? It may be an indirect metric. An example we gave was your website traffic. While your key metric might be your click-through rate, you do want to see overall how much website traffic you're getting, and you want to see that increasing, literally. So that brought us to the last point of optimization. Once your campaign goes live, as Andrea said, is action time, right? Now, this is also that time of anxiety, like I said, because now you want to see things. Now it's I built it, do they come, right? But I've built it on data. I've built it on information. I've built it on past experience. So I'm not, biting my nails as soon as I hit, go live necessarily. But as that campaign is running, I'm going to learn and I'm going to optimize. I'm going to continue to optimize what's happening in that campaign. So that's it for this morning. That was a full conversation of, getting best out of your campaigns and campaign success. Tamara, tell me you're back, because nobody does the CTAs like you. Oh, I don't think she's back yet, so we still can't get audio. But great stuff this morning. I'll let everyone just put in their last thoughts before we get going.
Yes. I think it goes back to the core of what we say in this show and our past shows. So my call to action is to invite you to go back to listen to our past 3 seasons of fun-filled information that's worthy of your time. But a successful campaign is built on multiple components that we spoke to here that require strategic effort, and for you to put your name against something, for you to 10 toes down and identify something that's important to you, because this is based upon numbers, not a feeling strategy, not which way the wind blows, but specific information that you're willing to identify as your measure of success to understand when you need to stop and when you need to go. So go back and listen, rewind on this one, and write your notes, because there was a lot of great information in today's show.
Strategy, strategy, strategy. That's it. You have to make your decisions based on strategy. As Michelle said, it's not a feeling. It's not a how the wind blow, or as we say in Trini, vai ki vai. It is, this is what I am doing because I found this out so that I can achieve this. That's all. That, and if you stick to that model, the actions that you take will bring you the success that you're looking for. So, in closing, strategy, strategy, strategy.
Absolutely. So that brings us to the top of the hour. Thank you, everyone who's joined us live, and thank you for everyone who is listening on the replay. We want you to connect with us. So subscribe on YouTube. Get to Your Business in Digital and hit that button. Follow us on LinkedIn. We are also everywhere that podcasts are. So we're on Spotify, Apple, Google. So definitely a lot of places you can follow us, and definitely share this with a business owner that you think can benefit from the information that we provide. Of course, go through, as we said, we have many videos here on our channel that talk to digital marketing and getting the most out of it. So definitely check us out and browse our resources on our library of information. So thanks for joining us this morning. We'll see you next week, where we have a surprise from Tamara. I can't give away her surprise, but we definitely got a surprise for you next week. And we got a couple surprises next week. Tomorrow, it's not just one, right? We got a few. So that said, have a great day, have a great week, and here's some successful campaigns.